Despite stern competition from a noisy rival based in the US, One Championship continues to blow people away with its rich talent pool, high-octane fights, and highlight reel moments, most of which could easily make the MMA Hall of Fame. So fasten your seatbelts because today we are going to show you the wildest knockouts in One Championship. Alain Endolani versus Hideki Sakine. Now we're going to kick things off with the hulking Alain Endolani, who went viral on social media in his early days in One Championship due to his crazy physique, backflips, cartwheels, and most importantly, wild knockouts. Now Endolani may have a losing 4-6 MMA record, but he is a true entertainer, and he set the Jakarta Convention Center in Indonesia on fire in September 2017 by producing the fastest knockout in One heavyweight history against Hideki Sakine. As soon as they touched gloves to mark the beginning of their fight, Hideki chased Endolani like he wanted to rugby tackle the crap out of him. But in doing so, he threw defense out of the window and ran into a massive counter right, falling face first to the canvas and taking a nice little nap. Yebo versus Bashir Ahmed. Now anything Hideki Sakine can do, Pakistani-American MMA maestro Bashir Ahmed can do better. The godfather of Pakistani MMA competed 6 times in One Championship, suffering 3 losses, with his most devastating one coming at the hands of Filipino boxer Yebo. Right off the bat, Ahmed was aggressive, landing a solid leg kick and then clipping Yebo with some nice shots. But as soon as Ahmed landed a 1-2 on the button, he got carried away and chased a backtracking Yebo with reckless abandon. The Filipino turned the tables in a split second, landing a perfectly timed right hand to send Ahmed packing.
Good hands from him. Oh, and Yebo.
Meng Bo versus Laura Balan. For years, China's Meng Bo took pride in being the only woman to beat UFC strawweight queen Zhang Weili, and One Championship even called for a cross-promotional fight between the two Chinese stars when Bo made a successful start to her One Championship career with a thunderous knockout against Laura Balan in November 2019. The Sanda anti-Kwando specialist, who packs a lot of power in her punches, surprised everyone by securing a takedown early in the fight, dominating her foe on the mat for 2 minutes before disengaging. Once the two fighters returned to their feet, Balan tried to be the aggressor as she came forward with a left hook, but Bo crushed her chin with a counter right, and Balan crashed onto the canvas with her legs twisted in opposite directions. Saeed Doggy Arslanaliev versus Ev Ting. With 7 knockouts in 9 fights, Doggy is one of the hardest hitting lightweights in One Championship, and when he faced Ev Ting in 2019, he put his ridiculous one-punch power on display. Ting, a crafty veteran, was expected to be a tough test for the young Dagestani star, but he proved to be Saeed's easiest. The two fighters spent the first few seconds in a feeling-out process, but then Doggy landed the first and final strike of the fight, a crushing left hook that dropped Ting in a blink. Just a few seconds later, the fight was over.
Serious force behind it. Oh, Ting in trouble.
Martin Nguyen versus Marat Gafarov. Speaking of doggies in One Championship, when Marat Gafarov captured the One featherweight title in 2015, he was considered one of the scariest guys in the promotion. In his third title defense, however, all of that changed. The Dagestani was 15-0 when he put his title on the line against Martin Nguyen in a rematch. Having already beaten the Sidu Asian in 2015 in only 41 seconds, Gafarov was expected to run through the Aussie. And while he did have a lot of success with his grappling, the tables turned in a split second. The first round was all Gafarov, as he secured a couple of takedowns and attempted submissions while also landing some good shots. And the second round, he continued to control his opponent for a minute before Nguyen managed to disengage. The fight returned to the center of the circle where Gafarov let his guard down and Nguyen shattered his chin with a huge overhand right. And just like that, the Dagestani's reign of terror in the promotion was all over.
For the Aussie. And there it is! Ah, the big
Angela Lee versus Zhang. Having defended her atomweight 115-pound title 4 different times, Angela Unstoppable Lee moved up to the strawweight 125-pound division to challenge Chinese powerhouse Xiong in March 2019. Being the dominant force that she was in One back then, Lee was expected to use her grappling to take home a second belt. And while she did have her moments on the feet, Jingnan held her own. Despite getting caught in multiple submission attempts throughout their fight, Jingnan broke free and had the better of the striking exchanges on the mat. The punching panda targeted Li's body throughout, and by the 5th round, the challenger was badly bruised. Xiong let her body-to-head combinations flow and picked apart a tired Li for a minute and a half into the 5th frame, before hurting her with a straight right to the body and finishing her with a barrage of combinations.
Angela's in trouble! It's over! It's over! It's good night, Irene!
Christian Li versus Shinya Aoki. While one member of the Li family was the nail in the previous clip, Angela's brother Christian Li was the hammer when he challenged Japanese legend Shinya Aoki at One Enter the Dragon on May 2019. Li was only 21 years old when he fought Aoki, and his lack of experience showed in the first round, when he was taken down and dominated. The Warrior was extremely tough, however, as he refused to tap despite getting caught in a tight armbar. In the second round, Li turned the tables on Aoki. Half a minute into round 2, the Warrior came forward and connected with 2 clean left hands that sent Aoki down into the corner of the ring. He followed it up with some vicious ground and pound, forcing the referee to intervene and save the Japanese legend from more brain damage.
With that knee is when Shinya came in.
Demetrius Johnson versus Adriano won. Compared to the other ex-UFC fighters that competed in one championship before him, Demetrius Johnson had a fantastic start to his career in the promotion, winning each of his first 3 fights en route to his triumphant run in the One Flyweight World Grand Prix, which earned him a title fight against the champion Adriano. Given his stature, Johnson was expected to defeat Makino to win the belt when they fought in April 2021, but the Brazilian used his size and strength to pull off the upset. Maia started the fight at range, but Johnson worked his way inside to fire off with shots of engage in the clinch. The fight soon hit the mat following a scramble, and Maia was able to use his size to reverse positions to end up on top at the end of round 1. Now, Johnson's willingness to close the distance backfired in the second round as Maia connected with a big uppercut halfway through the round, dropping Johnson. And that is when Maia blasted a devastating knee to the face of his grounded opponent, which, by the way, is perfectly legal in one championship, and Johnson was out cold.
Now for the champion. Throws a knee to the jaw. DJ's hurt.
Demetrius Johnson versus Adriano 2. Now, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall, and the ability to bounce back after heartbreaking defeats is what sets champions apart from the rest. After getting finished for the first time in his career, Demetrius Johnson, being the greatest flyweight champion of all time, bounced back in style in an immediate rematch with Adriano in August 2022. In the first 2 rounds, Johnson had a tough time dealing with his size and strength, and the two exchanged early, swapping kicks and taking turns pushing forward, until Maia caught a kick and then dragged Johnson to the mat where he did damage with elbows, although not as much as Johnson's elbow from the bottom, which opened up a cut above Mariah's left eye. Maia had the better of the exchanges in round 2 as well, but Johnson turned the tide in his favor in round 3 as he found more success cutting off the circle. After landing a left hook and overhand right, Johnson continued to land with better efficiency. In the 4th round, Maia started to swing the tide in his favor again when Johnson rocked him with a mean overhand right to put him off balance. As Maia stumbled into the fence, Johnson blasted his opponent with a perfectly timed knee to the head that finished Maia just as he had finished Mighty Mouse in their first fight.
Smaller movements.
Oh, big right, DJ! They stunned it! Big knee!
Cosmo Alexander versus Sage Northcutt. Not every former UFC fighter has had a successful run in one championship. When Sage Northcutt left the UFC in 2019 and joined one championship at only 23 years old, he was expected to be a world champion in his new promotion. In any other promotion in the world, newcomers are normally handed a tune-up fight or two. But one championship is different in that regard, which is why Northcutt was allowed to swim in the Shark Tank immediately, facing the scary Muay Thai monster Cosmo Alexander in his promotional debut at One Enter the Dragon. Northcutt started the fight well, keeping a nice and wide stance, throwing a decent kick, but then Alexander went into beast mode, walking the American down and forcing him against the ropes before literally crushing his face with a thunderous right hand that caused a short circuit in Sage's system. The former UFC star suffered multiple facial fractures that required multiple surgeries and a 4-year recovery period to fix.
Grapple with him.
Fortunately, Northcutt recently bounced back into the win column with a comeback submission victory against Ahmed, But can he go all the way and win the belt?